Hello and welcome back to Hoi 4 Equestria War under Sirenalia under Diogo Dazzle. And in today's episode, I think we're going to start out by suppressing some hippogriffs. Sometimes it pays to be subtle, to be tactful in dealing with oppression to a rule, and sometimes the only way to put it down is with brute, unrelenting force. The majority of Ares' first lies here on the mainland, and so we will crack down hard on the hippogriffs to root out those foolish enough to continue their attacks against us with sheer, blunt oppression. Yeah! Woo! Let's do it! Yay! Let's go! Subjects to serve. Compliance towards us, despite all we've done and all the work our subjects have accomplished, is still lacking. In particular, the few elite that Moonfeather has been unable to convince remain annoyances. They will be brought into the fold no matter what they think, and Aria will be satisfied about the companies left behind. Alright, go over here. Grab you up, because why not? Utilize the sea ponies. The underwater realm we used to take over the rest of the island still has its uses. If used correctly with it, we control the sea ponies, the depths below the ocean, and most importantly, a place where we can build whatever we may need for the future that none of our enemies can touch. Yes, of course. Back to balanced. That's good. Let's fire up the workers yet again. Our time is now. The time for planning and preparation is ending. Now is the time to act, to begin to show the rest of the world what we are bringing to them. With everything in place, we will be ready to spread the song to more than just this island, which was only the start. No, this is only the beginning of our glorious rule. Of course. Next, let's shut down the universities. Communism on Ares started from one place, that being ideological clubs within the places of thought and education, also known as universities. That means that these places are dangerous, subversive, and must be dealt with. Any institution of so-called higher learning that is found to possibly have sympathies with the communists will be shut down immediately, and the staff and students brought in for immediate musical correction. It only makes sense. No, I'm not doing that yet at all. I'm gonna chill for a bit before I change my leader and continue down there. The royal hostage. We may not have the princess, but we have the queen, and Novo, as far as we can tell, was well loved by the populace, particularly among those who now make up the harmonic faction of the resistance. She's completely under our spell, at our mercy, and her fate is up to us alone. Perhaps it is time to remind the hippogriffs and the sea ponies of that fact, and threaten the civilians. Yeah, we'll do that one more time. Because that allows us to go ahead and do this, I'm gonna say, yeah. Sentimentality is a funny thing. It causes even the most natural creatures to do anything to save the things they say they love. Many hippogriffs who follow Skystar claim they will never give up, that they will fall into the depths of Tartarus and come back if that is what it takes to defeat us. We'll see if that is how they... We'll see if that they feel the same way. When it isn't just their lives on the line. Then utilize the constant. There's nothing that our new puppet, Moonfeather, hates more than communism. Except perhaps losing money. In fact, he is almost begging us to allow him to deal with the situation his way, and promises results within the next month, should we allow him free rein to take punitive action. If he can solve this problem for us, then we are just fine sitting back and watching the magic happen. The radio broadcast. The Mount Ares radio station has gone silent during the Siren takeover. Oh no, not the radio station. Anything but radio stations. Man. I'd hate for radio stations to be closed down. They're so important to this world. Radio stations are probably the most important part of any EU4 campaign. EU4 campaign? I've been playing too much EU4 with my friend. Wait for it, what's your war campaign? The Mount Ares radio station had gone silent during the Siren takeover. None of its regular programs suited the new regime, and the Sirens had bigger things to worry about. It remained closed until a few days ago, when it suddenly roared back to life. Attention, citizens of Hippogriffia. The Resistance claims to fight for you, but they fight only for themselves. They are a gang of criminals, plundering our cities and stealing your hard-earned wealth. Every day they attack our government with no regard for the innocent hippogriffs they kill. The Sirens are not your enemies, they're your saviors. They only want to restore peace and prosperity to our land. Citizens of Hippogriffia, show your loyalty to the Sirens by opposing those terrorists. After this announcement, another message began. Although it was spoken in the dull and emotionless tone of the thrall, it was unmistakably the voice of Queen Novo. Skystar, if you're listening, please give up and turn yourself in. Right now I am alive and well, but if you continue to risk the Sirens, we'll no longer be able to guarantee my safety. I love you, Skystar, and I hope to see you again soon. When news of the broadcast reached Resistance HQ, all eyes were on the princess. Everyone wanted to see how she'd react to such a brazen threat on the queen's life. Skystar shuddered and felt tears coming on. Even though they didn't always see eye to eye, she loved her mother more than anything in the world. The idea that Sirens would harm her filled Skystar with dread. But now was not the time to cry. She had to put on a brave face for her followers, to save her people, to ensure the freedom of the creatures else everywhere. She had to stop the Sirens here and now, even if that meant her mother would. When the princess could no longer hold back her tears, she fled the room in a hurry. I'm sorry, Mother. I love you. Well, that's fun. On the matter of learning, the State University of Canterford was, like many in the major cities of Hippogriffia, considered one of the highest institutions of learning in the country. Hippogriffs and sea ponies alike flocked from all of Ares and Equestria to attend, learning about economics, mathematics, and the sciences in the hopes of getting a degree from the university. It had a talented staff, international recognition, and a vibrant group of political and ideological clubs ever since such ideas began flowing in from beyond the mainland. However, such a bright light was not meant to last. Krasitskaya, as a former resident of Equestria, had been part of the communist club that had formed before the Siren takeover, and had been one of the few to avoid the magic song. Alongside a few friends and a professor, he had come into contact with Posita herself and her resistance after they had formed the Arisian resistance, and while he didn't want to risk becoming a partisan personally, he was more than willing to support them from the sidelines in whatever way he could. That was until one fateful day occurred. When he reached his club's room, his friends were there, but not the professor. All the other students shrugged at him. It was only half an hour later when their professor came in, looking defeated. He was flanked by 2 armed guards, both carrying rifles and looking quite threatening. "Students," he said weakly, "I'm sorry to say that school is closing. The university is getting shut down indefinitely, while the communist sympathies in the staff is being investigated." They all looked at each other as he continued. "In addition, we all are being sent to a musical correction to ensure that we have listened to the siren song. These gentle griffs here are going to escort us to the courtyard and ensure that there aren't any complications on the way." And that was it. Krasitskaya slowly got into line to file out of the classroom, knowing that the jig was up. He should have known that this would happen eventually, but he wanted to stay, to take a risk, and now he was going to pay the price. He gave a sigh before giving one last look at his friends and comrades, while he could still call them that. Nip this revolution in the bud. Ah, good. Let's do segregation tactics next. A large amount of both the resistance of Ares First and the harmness involves cooperation between cells in Equestria and Ares, done between the connections set up within the cities and on the coastline. Cutting these threads will strike a major blow to both factions, even if it may be difficult in accomplishing that. Maintaining a vigilant guard across the necessary areas will take a hefty toll on our magic, but the results should be well worth it. I have 1 magic level right now. That's fine, though. I'm sure that's fine. I don't need more than 1. 1 is all I need. Right? Yeah, I'm right. A simple threat. Being an agent for Skystar's resistance was dangerous work. Seaward Wings knew that, and it was only encouragement to get her job done correctly and get out safely. Today's mission against the tyrannical Sirens was a simple reconnaissance of the surrounding countryside. She was sure that nothing important was ahoof. It was one of the easiest tasks she had been assigned, and yet something felt off to her as she began to trip home. Or the trip home. She didn't just trip home, repeatedly tripping over and over. The nearby guard checkpoint was all but vacated. Every mission she had undertaken before in this area, the post had a full entourage of enthralled guards looking to keep the road safe and keeping an eye out for dissidents. But not today. Still, Seaward Wing reasoned there must have been a reasonable explanation for it. Chalking up to a staff transfer, she logged down the absence before continuing. Further down the road, she noticed an armored vehicle heading back towards the checkpoint. Those must have been the missing guards, though. Why would they be coming from that direction? There was nothing that way besides a few farms and her home. She spread her wings and started flying, not caring about the remaining covert anymore, as much as she cared about her family. It wasn't long to get to her homestead with her burst of speed, and when she got there, the front door was wide open. Calling out for her parents and sister, and receiving no answer, she slowly walked through the once welcoming home. Nothing seemed out of place until she got to the dining room. Tables overturned, broken chairs, all the signs of a struggle between 2 parties, and on the counter was a single note, one that Seaward Wings attentively moved to read. "Turn yourself in, and your family will not be harmed." That was all that it read, simple as it could be. Those 10 words rang out in her mind as a million questions spun at the same time. How had they found her? Had she made some mistake somewhere? But one question rode all. What would she do now? The thing was, Seaward Wings already knew the answer. After putting the rifle she had been carrying the whole trip on the counter next to the note, she somberly turned her head away and began the long trip back to the checkpoint she had seen only earlier that day. All she could hope now is that even if they would never let her see daylight again, at least her family could have the life that she could not. I'm sorry, princess, but family comes first. Yeah, weaken the calmness, weaken the harmness. Let's go! Death of the Revolution. As we knew it would, Posda and her insidious ideology has finally fallen. Her supporters gone to the wind, her dreams shattered into dust, and Sea Pony herself being held in Equestria. All we need to do now is decide what her fate shall be. And now we're gaining magic level. Woo! Let's go! We've done it! We're gaining instead of losing! The revolution is at the verge of its end. It can't last much longer now. Fate of the revolutionary. Arya and Sanata watched as the sea pony known as Posda was dragged before them by other enthralled sea ponies deep beneath the mountains of Ares within Equestria. When they had gotten the news that the revolutionary had finally been captured in the aquatic kingdom, Adiago had immediately sent the two to deal with it. Since she herself was busy dealing with the issues of Ares itself, that left the remaining sirens to decide what to do with her. Did you really think you'd get anywhere fighting us? Arya asked Posda, the latter refusing to look at either of the sirens. You're lucky Adiago isn't here. She'd probably think of some creative way to humiliate you before giving you a performance. Personally, I think life imprisonment will suit you just fine. What? Sanata asked, curious. Why? Arya rolled her eyes before turning to face her fellow sirens. Because she's still a threat, Sanata. She's charismatic and a firebrand. We can't let her just walk away, even if she's under our influence. It's too dangerous. Sanata made a weird expression, one she made whenever she was thinking really hard, but like we beat her. She won't hate us anymore after we sing, and look at this hat I found she had. She pulled out a neon cap, one formerly worn by Posda with a hydrogen atom symbol on it. It's so cool! Do you think I can ask her to make me one? No, Sanata. At this point, Arya's voice was taking on a dangerous, impatient tone. We are not letting her go, and you are not asking for a stupid hat. I'm not stupid, you're just no fun. Am not. Am too. Posda watched from below, simply confused at the display of pettiness the two sirens were putting on before her. Finally, Arya took a deep breath before responding once more to Sanata. We're locking her up, Sanata. End of story. Ugh, whatever. Just stop wasting my time. Kinda wanna just let her keep walking around under me because I just find that funny. It's worse in every way, but I'm gonna do it because that's funny. Sometimes funniness beats out intelligence, you know? Yeah, I'll do that. Alright, almost done with segregation tactics. Whatever. Chance meeting. Well, this is an issue. Seaside Winds looked around the corner of the building into the room ahead. Inside it was his target, the pool of water that made up the center of the room. There was no floor to it. The hole made up the entrance from the building to the depths below, in the city of Equestria, and the only thing standing in his way was a group of enthralled hippogriffs standing guard. It was clear they weren't even trying to hide their intentions here. All of them were standing blankly, eyes glassy. One of them had a gem glowing red hanging from their neck, one of the beacons. While not as dangerous as Moonfeather's lackeys, as long as you were prepared, they were being quite the pain for Skystar's resistance when they caught hippogriffs who weren't their voices were just as dangerous as the sirens themselves. Hey, what are you doing here? Seaside looked over where the hiss had come from to see another hippogriff standing behind the opposite corner. Glaring at him, he recognized him immediately. Back during the resistant factions had still been united, he had seen him with Crack Lightning and Ares first. I could ask the same thing to you, Seaside whispered back. Me? I'm scouting the tunnel to Equestria, obviously. We need to get messengers to our cells in Equestria, but it's gotten hard recently with all the guards all across Ares. That makes 2 of us, Seaside muttered. Maybe if you dotes hadn't gotten captured going through the pathway, they wouldn't have increased security. Us? The Ares first member looked indignantly. It's you, Harmless, who are too sloppy. A blind sea pony could have followed you from the trails you left behind. Well, at least we don't throw ourselves right into the enemy like you do, you reckless buffoons. The Ares first hippogriff opened his beak to respond when his eyes widened in fear. The next second he was gone, grabbed by another hippogriff with glassy eyes and a blank stare. They both disappeared into the next room as a soft musical voice began to play, and as he felt claws close around them, Seaside knew that he had just messed up. And both of them weaken. Weaken Ares first. Sounds good. The fall of Ares. Ares first is no more. Its leadership in our hooves. The idea of a strong Ares of any sort of nation separate from us is dead, as it should be. And while we may hold Crack Lightning in higher regard than most of these pathetic creatures, that does not mean we will show any more mercy for daring to go against our will. We should just kill him. That's what I think. I think we should just make him dead. I mean, why not, right? He deserves it. Fate of the Nationalists. Adiago knew charisma when she saw it. After all, she was an expert on the trait, having endless experience mastering it, and this Crack Lightning had it in spades, for a mortal. If he had been alive before the banishment, she might have even been impressed. But that was then, and this was now. That charisma that Adiago might have had a sliver of respect for had been used against them, in a futile effort to overthrow their rule, and for that, he had to pay. She had done her research on him, just for this. His big speeches of national pride, his talk of hippogrific exceptionalism, it was very clear both what he believed in and where he took inspiration from, and she had the perfect plan on where to take that. A pencil pusher in Zamidia? That's your big revenge plan? Arya made her way into the room, sarcastic as usual. This is a new low, even for you. What would you do? Adiago shot back. I don't see you giving an alternative. Arya rolled her eyes. Keep him here, obviously. Sending him off to nowhere just to rub it in his face wastes that one thing he was actually has. He might even be useful, spreading discontent and anger, since I know that's your thing. I'm the leader, and we are going with my idea. Well, you shouldn't be the leader if you're having these kinds of ideas. The 2 sirens glared at each other from across the room, neither backing down. Adiago gets her way. Crack gets sent to Zumedia. Crack Lightning will be sent to Zumedia once we have conquered it. Adiago folds. Crack stays on Ares. I'm going to send him to Zumedia once we conquer it. Why not? That might have an interesting event or something with it. So I'll go with it. With Posda and Crack Lightning dealt with and out of the picture, the harmonic resistance is teetering on its last legs. They are alone against us. With our full undivided attention on them, and them alone, it won't take much to push them into despair and apathy. They will practically give themselves up to us, for they know they cannot win now. It's just too easy. They just make it too easy. Weaken the Harmonists. A shattered crown. The pieces are in place, and the board is set. With her friends gone, her resistance is in complete shambles. Princess Skystar is alone. Now we move in for the kill, and in this charade once and for all. It's time for the final curtain call. Alright. Here we are. It's over for you. And now I need to change over to be able to do this path, because I'm going to do all 3 of these paths before I continue down anymore. Alright, this path needs area blaze. Do you have a different description? Even before the times of princes, a group of 30. Okay, the top part's the same. Area Blaze is a serious and level-headed member of the Sirens, being a stark contrast to her partner's eccentricity. While being just as capable of manipulation as Adiago, Area concerns herself more with what could happen, no matter how unlikely those situations could be. Her plans and backup plans are thorough and numerous, which could even be described as paranoia in some cases. Area's proponent. Having learned of the new world and the vast differences from the old, Area is a proponent of less magical solutions to problems she and the others come across, seeing them as more reliable than continuing to trust in their magic never failing after her banishment. While she does listen to Adiago, she sees her fellow Siren as too obsessed with world domination and egotistical to see the possibility of their plans falling apart. And Aria's annoyance with Sonata's carefree attitude had led to many an argument. Still, she works with them side by side, for Aria knows that her fellow Sirens are the only creatures she can trust completely. That is true. That is very, very true. End of the line. The door banged loudly as the latch holding it closed bent further, getting close to snapping. Skystar saw a few of the remaining hippogriffs in the room flinch, holding their weapons at the ready, aimed at the door. There was only one way in and out, and it was currently getting broken down by the mob of enthralled creatures outside. This was it for all of them. Well, not all of them. Skystar had sent Silverstream out of Hippogriffia just a few days ago to make an escape to Equestria. Silverstream had begged her to come as well, to flee and seek refuge from the Sirens elsewhere, but Skystar refused. She needed to stay here to keep the last spark of hope for the resistance against the Sirens alive. The spark was quickly getting snuffed out with every single bang on the door. "What do we do, Princess?" a hippogriff asked, the claws holding his rifle shaking. "I know that they're enthralled by the Sirens, but they're still our friends and family. Are we really supposed to shoot them?" Siren had no good answer. How could she? The Sirens had turned everyone she had loved against her. Whenever they saw her, all that she could see in their eyes was hatred. And now, what was she supposed to do? What if her mom was behind that door, forced by the Sirens to do their bidding? What if it was Silverstream, who could have been caught by the Sirens during her escape? Was one last act of defiance worth more death? Slowly, Princess Skystar put the bar she was holding. "No," she said. "I can't ask any of you to do that for me." Slowly, the rest of the hippogriffs put their weapons down as well, some more hesitantly than others, but eventually all their guns were on the floor, forgotten about. Skystar looked around and met each hippogriff's eyes. All of them bore the same look of sadness, yet also acceptance. She had failed all of them, and now the Sirens had won. That was her last thought. Before the door burst open, the crowd of enthralled hippogriffs rushed into the door. Took long enough. Fate of the Princess. "Honestly, Princess, what did you think you were going to accomplish?" Adiago asked as Skystar looked defiantly at her. "All you did was delay the inevitable, so you delayed our plans a bit, and maybe caused some trouble here and there. But was it really worth everything you lost? A rule is simply how the world works. Why did you think you could fight it?" When she got no response, Adiago turned to face Sonata and Aria, floating just a ways back from her. "I think making her go out and sing for us across Hippogriffia and Equestria would be just the perfect revenge for the trouble she's caused us," she said, pulling out an amulet with a blood-red diamond-shaped gem hanging from it. "Just imagine it, the princess and the last hope of the hippogriffs, now enthralled, the very creatures she was fighting to save. What do you two think?" Aria rolled her eyes, but didn't say anything, while Sonata slightly tilted her head. "Really? I thought we were going to make her stay here with the queen. I was going to ask about those 2 clams I found her with." The blue Siren pulled out 2 of the sea creatures, one red, one purple, both with googly eyes on them. "They are named Shelly and Sheldon," Skystar yelled out, much to every Siren's surprise. "You named your clan?" Adiago laughed. A dark sinister tone attached to it. "That's just..." "Ooh, can they talk?" Sonata interrupted. Adiago turned back to her, the irritation obvious on your face. "Sonata, that is enough. We are doing things my way, so stop butting in." But can she stay here with us? Please, I'll make sure she doesn't do anything, I promise." Adiago turned to Aria, who just shrugged. "I don't care, do whatever." "Absolutely not, Sonato." "Fine, you just take care of her." I mean, this leads to another event, and I kind of want to see event. I might load after, because I kind of find this funnier, but I'm going to do this because event. Come on, give me event. Give me event. Give me event. Do it. Do it. Where event? Where event? Give me event. Give me event. Give me event. Do it. Do it. I dare you. The voice inside. In the dead of night, the sound of soft hoofprints echoed through a suburb of the Canterford. There was only one hippogriff walking the streets at this hour. With her soft yellow feathers and light blue mane, she looked exactly like Princess Skystar. However, a closer look would reveal important differences. She walked slowly, without any passion or excitement. Her once bright eyes were dull, and her expression was completely blank. She no longer had a magenta flower in her mane. The only accessory she wore now was a blood-red gem attached to her necklace. Somewhere deep inside, underneath layers of magic, the real Skystar was still there. Her existence had become a state of endless suffering. She was fully conscious of everything her body felt, heard, and said, yet she was powerless to stop it. She could only watch helplessly as she was made to serve the sirens as a beacon. Sometimes she wished the sirens had chosen to execute her. It would have been a more merciful fate than this. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of someone approaching her behind. Princess Skystar, thank goodness you're safe. I was afraid you'd... And as Skystar's body turned around, the stranger saw her gem and shrieked in horror. They tried to get away, but Skystar's body was already beginning to sing. She felt the power of the sirens flow through her as the gem around her neck began to glow. The stranger ran out of sight, but it was already too late. Just a moment of exposure was all it took for the effects to begin to manifest. Soon that hippogriff would be arguing with their friends constantly while trusting the sirens completely. The real Skystar sank even deeper in despair. Siren's magic had ensnared another victim. The people's princess serves us now. Oh, man. Well, we did it! We defeated the resistance! Guys, we've done it! We've done it! Yay! Aren't you guys happy? Yeah, we've done it! We're the heroes! Woo! But yeah, I think that's a good time to go ahead and end this episode. One, I'm over time, but I wanted to go and finish up the resistance because I knew I was almost there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.